The Buddha's policy: no debate, only practice. Section 1: The futility of quarrels. Human history has always been echoing with voices, opinions, and quarrels. From the marketplaces of ancient cities to the quiet corners of forest hermitages, humanity has sought to prove, argue, and defend its beliefs. We cling to opinions, traditions, philosophies, and ideologies as though our very existence depends on them. Yet, all around us, the world trembles under the weight of these endless disputes, wars, conflicts, social rifts, and families torn apart by pride and misunderstanding. Quarrels never heal. They rarely illuminate. They inflame the mind, fuel the ego, and deepen the sense of separation. They are like fire: they flare brightly, consume energy, but leave only ashes when the smoke clears. Ashes of friendship, ashes of trust, ashes of peace. And often even the fire of victory cannot warm the heart, because the heart is still chained by desire, attachment, and ignorance. The Buddha, with his infinite wisdom and compassionate gaze, understood this truth profoundly. He said, "Mere arguments, mere debates will take you nowhere. They are harmful, they are fearful." Arguments are harmful because they feed attachment, not only to opinions, but also to pride and self-identity. They strengthen the illusion of "I am right. You are wrong," and the mind becomes a battlefield, not a sanctuary. Arguments are fearful because they provoke anger, anxiety, and fear, not only in the one who argues but also in those who listen. Words can wound, words can inflame, and words can build walls where bridges are needed. Yet humanity persists in this endless cycle. Across centuries, wise and foolish alike have engaged in quarrels, convinced that victory lies in proving the other wrong. But the Buddha saw the deeper truth: liberation cannot come from quarrel, debate, or verbal victory. Liberation comes only from practice, observation, and insight. Words may illuminate temporarily, but truth must be directly experienced. Section 2: The Buddha's encounters with philosophers. Imagine the India of 2,500 years ago, a land filled with thinkers, sages, and philosophers. Every riverbank, every forest, every city was a hub of philosophical debate. Schools of thought multiplied like stars in the night sky, some insisting that the soul is eternal, others denying it, some asserting that the universe is infinite, others claiming it is finite. Learned men wielded arguments like swords, sharpening intellect and pride, eager to defeat rivals and gain fame. One day, a group of wandering ascetics approached the Blessed One. Their leader, a man proud of his learning and intellect, posed his questions with sharpness and challenge. "Gautama, tell us, is the universe eternal or not eternal? Is it finite or infinite? Does the soul exist after death or does it not? Answer, so we may know your wisdom." The Buddha looked at them, his gaze calm, infinite, and compassionate. He knew their hearts were not yet ready for liberation. They were hunters of argument, not seekers of truth. Yet he did not respond with anger, insult, or ego. Instead, he spoke gently, like a river flowing past the rocks of pride. "Friends, leave aside these questions which lead only to endless dispute. Whether the world is eternal or not eternal, does this remove suffering? Whether the soul exists after death or not, does this free you from craving, anger, and ignorance? These matters will not take you to liberation. Instead, let us discuss what leads to peace, sila, samadhi, and panna." The ascetics were startled. No teacher had ever refused to enter into debate in such a way. They pressed again, with impatience and curiosity. "But Master, these questions are of the highest importance. How can truth be known without them?" The Buddha replied with the serene clarity of a man standing on the shore, watching others flounder in stormy waters. Imagine a man struck by a poisoned arrow. He refuses to have the arrow removed until he knows who shot it, what caste the man belonged to, what bow was used, and what kind of feathers were on the arrow shaft. He will die before his questions are answered. So too with you. The poison of craving burns within you, yet you quarrel about what is eternal and what is not. Remove the arrow. Walk the path. Then you will know. Some were offended and left, clinging to their pride and opinions. But among them were a few whose hearts were open, ready to hear truth beyond words. They bowed before the enlightened one and said, "Indeed, Gautama speaks wisely. Arguments do not end suffering, but practice does. We shall walk this path." And so, step by step, many philosophers laid down their weapons of debate and picked up the tools of practice. The Buddha's policy was always the same. When confronted with endless abstract questions, he would guide seekers to the essentials: morality, concentration, and wisdom, sila, samadhi, panna. These are the seeds of liberation, not words. These are the tools to heal the mind, not arguments. Section 3: Why Debates Fail. Debates are like sparks striking stone. They may generate heat, but they never produce lasting light. They stir the mind but cannot calm the heart. At best, they sharpen intellect. At worst, they strengthen ego, pride, and attachment. Why do debates fail to liberate? Because they operate in the realm of opinion, whereas liberation arises in the realm of experience. Opinions are external, changeable, and dependent on context. Experience is internal, constant, and undeniable. A debate may sway belief, but it cannot purify the mind or release suffering. The Buddha knew that 3 poisons thrive in debate. 1. Ego, the urge to prove oneself right. 2. Attachment, clinging to one's tradition, teacher, or view. 3. Aversion, rejecting anything that challenges one's opinion. Where ego, attachment, and aversion reign, wisdom cannot emerge. Debates sharpen the intellect but leave the heart blind. They feed pride but do not dissolve craving. They excite the mind but leave suffering untouched. A debate is like 2 blind men arguing about the color of the sky. One insists it is red, the other that it is blue. Both are lost. Only one who opens his eyes can know the truth, and he does not quarrel. Similarly, a person drowning in a river cannot be saved by arguments about the water. They need a hand to pull them out. The Buddha offered that hand, not through debate, not through intellectual victory, but through practice, observation, and insight. Debates are limited to words, but the mind, suffering, and liberation are beyond words. One can argue endlessly, yet without practice, the heart remains in darkness. One can defeat 1,000 opponents in debate, yet still be imprisoned by craving, fear, and ignorance. The Buddha's insight was clear: practice dissolves delusion, argument cannot. Part 2: The Buddha's Policy and the Universal Truth of Mind and Body. Section 4: The Buddha's Policy: No debate, only practice. The brilliance of the Buddha's wisdom lies in its simplicity. While other teachers wielded words as weapons, the Buddha wielded practice as the key to liberation. His policy was profound yet elegant: leave aside disputes that divide, and focus on the path that unites, the path that ends suffering. Whenever philosophers, seekers, or intellectuals approached him with countless questions about creation, eternity, or the nature of the soul, the Buddha never entered into fruitless debate. Instead, he returned them to the essentials: morality, sila, concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panna. 1. Sila, morality as the foundation. Sila is the first step toward liberation. Morality is universal. It is the soil in which the seeds of peace, clarity, and insight can grow. Without sila, concentration and wisdom have no firm foundation. The Buddha emphasized: refrain from harming others, through body, speech, or mind. Speak truthfully, act kindly, and live with integrity. Treat all beings with compassion, regardless of caste, creed, or status. Even the skeptic can recognize morality's wisdom. The principles of harmlessness, truthfulness, and integrity do not require argument, they are evident to the heart. They create a mind that is stable, calm, and receptive to insight. 2. Samadhi, the mind tamed. A mind untrained is like a wild horse galloping across a cliff, dragging its rider toward destruction. Debates may exercise intellect, but they cannot tame this mind. Samadhi, or concentration, is the skill of steadying the mind, focusing it like a clear lamp in the darkness. Through samadhi, the mind becomes calm, unshakable by petty quarrels, unperturbed by conflicting opinions. It develops the clarity to see things as they truly are. A concentrated mind does not waste energy in argument, it observes, it learns, it understands. 3. Panna, wisdom through direct seeing. Finally, panna is the jewel of the path. It is wisdom born of direct experience, not of speculation or debate. Through insight meditation, the practitioner observes. The body is impermanent, constantly changing. The mind is not I or mine, but a flow of sensations and thoughts. Clinging to either produces suffering. This is not philosophy, it is lived reality. The Buddha did not ask for blind faith. He invited every seeker to practice and see for themselves. Only through observation does attachment dissolve, pride fade, and confusion vanish. The elegance of the policy. The Buddha's method was simple. Set aside arguments that divide. Focus on universal truths that unite. Practice morality, concentration, and wisdom. Witness reality directly. Through this approach, quarrels vanish, pride softens, hearts open, and peace arises. The Buddha's teachings do not seek victory over others, they seek victory over suffering. Story of transformation, the quarrelsome scholar. Imagine a scholar, proud of his intellect, constantly debating others to prove his superiority. He arrives at a meditation course, expecting to show the teacher and fellow students the error of their ways. By the third day, as he observes his body, breath, and mind, he notices his attachment to opinion and pride. The need to argue fades. His mind becomes clear, his heart calm, and he smiles for the first time in years, free of the torment that once drove him to quarrel. This is the living power of practice over debate. Section 5, The Universal Truth of Mind and Body. The Buddha's insight into mind and body was revolutionary. All beings cling to body and mind as if they were permanent, as if they were I and mine. From birth to death, this attachment fuels suffering, fear, and desire. The body is a river, flowing endlessly, health, sickness, youth, aging, all impermanent. The mind is a cloud, drifting endlessly, thoughts, emotions, desires, all impermanent. Clinging to either is like trying to hold water in your hands, fleeting, frustrating, and painful. The misery of attachment. Consider. A person clinging to youth and beauty, wrinkles bring fear, aging brings anxiety. A scholar clinging to knowledge, challenges provoke pride, rejection, or defensiveness. A parent clinging to a child's success, any perceived failure causes suffering. All these are forms of attachment to mind and body, and all create misery. Arguments and quarrels often reinforce this clinging, defending opinions, defending beliefs, defending identity. Direct practice dissolves attachment. Vipassana, the Buddha's insight meditation, allows direct observation of the impermanent nature of mind and body. As sensations arise and pass, as thoughts come and go, the practitioner witnesses impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. When this is experienced, clinging naturally diminishes. Quarrels and pride fade. The mind becomes still, clear, and radiant. A metaphor, the river of mind. The mind, clouded by attachment and quarrels, is like a muddy river. Arguments stir the water, creating turbulence and confusion. Vipassana is like letting the sediment settle, the water becomes clear, reflective, and calm. Only then can we see reality as it is. Stories of transformation. Maya, a young woman steeped in religious dogma, arrives at a meditation retreat with countless questions. Observing her mind and body, she realizes suffering stems from attachment, not belief. Over time, the need to argue disappears, peace and clarity arise. Raj, a skeptical scholar, prides himself on intellectual mastery. Through direct observation of sensations and impermanence, he sees the futility of pride and debate. Transformation occurs quietly but profoundly. Every sincere practitioner undergoes a similar journey, from quarrel to peace, from attachment to liberation. Reflection. Debates may sharpen intellect, but only practice liberates the heart. Arguments may impress the world, but Vipassana impresses the soul. The Buddha's policy, no debate, only practice, is not a mere teaching, it is a revolutionary method for transforming human life. Part 3, Silent Transformation, the Buddha's Legacy, and Universal Peace. Section 6, Silent Transformation through Vipassana. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Buddha's teaching is its quiet, silent power. Unlike debates or sermons that rely on words and persuasion, Vipassana meditation works directly on the mind and body. Its transformations are subtle, yet profound, often invisible to the world but undeniable to the practitioner. A student begins the practice burdened by pride, confusion, and attachment. He may argue, he may quarrel, he may resist. Yet as he observes sensations rising and passing, as he notes thoughts, emotions, and desires without interference, a quiet revolution begins. Anxiety softens. Craving diminishes. Anger fades. Pride loosens its grip. This is silent transformation. It does not announce itself with fireworks or words. It works from within, like the roots of a tree deep underground, drawing nourishment quietly, slowly, until the entire tree stands firm and flourishing. Stories of silent change. A mother, once anxious about her child's every action, comes to observe impermanence and non-self. Slowly, fear and worry dissolve. Compassion arises naturally, without force. A scholar, who arrived to debate and prove his intellect, discovers the futility of pride. As he observes the mind, insight emerges, and a sense of humility and peace replaces intellectual arrogance. A young worker, weary of social conflict, begins Vipassana. The mind, once turbulent, settles like water after a storm. He realizes that quarrels and arguments never brought peace, but direct observation of reality does. Silent transformation, therefore, is not a product of argument. It is the fruit of practice, patience, and direct experience. Reflection. Quarrels may win temporary victories, but silent practice wins the heart. Debates may impress the world, but Vipassana transforms the self. Here lies the genius of the Buddha's policy: instead of confronting others with words, confront yourself with awareness. Section 7, The Greatest Contribution of the Buddha. The Buddha's greatest contribution is timeless, universal, and revolutionary. He did not confine his teaching to a nation, religion, or class. He did not demand blind faith, ritual, or allegiance. He discovered truths that no tradition, philosophy, or scripture had fully articulated before. 1. Suffering is universal. No being escapes birth, aging, illness, death, or dissatisfaction. 2. The root of suffering is craving, and ignorance, desire, attachment, and misunderstanding bind us. 3. Freedom is possible through practice, morality, concentration, and wisdom reveal reality and release suffering. This was unprecedented. Philosophers had speculated endlessly about the eternal soul, the universe, and divine law. Yet no one had provided a practical method for liberation. The Buddha did. A science of experience. His method is scientific in its essence: observe, verify, and experience for yourself. Observe impermanence in the body and mind. Witness craving and aversion arising and passing. Understand suffering and its cessation through direct insight. This method transcends intellectual debate. Words alone cannot awaken wisdom. Experience does. And this experience is available to all, regardless of background, belief, or social status. Stories of discovery. A student from a remote village had no formal education, yet through practice, he experienced clarity and freedom beyond scholars' debates. An intellectual, long devoted to philosophical argument, discovered humility and insight when observing impermanence directly. People from all sects and traditions gradually recognize the same truths. The Buddha's discoveries are universal, practical, and transformative. This is the Buddha's greatest gift, a path to liberation that transcends dogma, debate, and tradition. Section 8, From Quarrel to Peace. Humanity's obsession with debate has always been a source of suffering. Families argue, neighbors fight, nations wage war, all over opinions, beliefs, and traditions. Yet victory in debate never brings peace, it only strengthens ego, attachment, and separation. The Buddha recognized this and offered a revolutionary alternative: practice, not quarrel. Experience, not argument. Peace, not victory. Transformation through practice. The mind calms, by observing sensations and thoughts, quarrels lose significance. The heart opens, compassion and understanding arise naturally. Pride dissolves, insight into non-self softens the ego. Peace emerges, not as a concept, but as lived reality. A quarrelsome scholar, a skeptical parent, a troubled worker, each finds freedom not through argument, but through observation and practice. Literary metaphor, the storm and the sea. Quarrels are like storms on a turbulent sea, waves clash, winds roar, water churns. Practice is like the calm beneath the waves, invisible, quiet, yet grounding everything. Slowly, the storm subsides. Clarity emerges. The sea reflects the sky once more. This is the essence of the Buddha's policy: no debate, only practice. Section 9, Conclusion, the living policy for humanity. Quarrels divide. Dogmas bind. Pride blinds. Words may persuade, but only experience liberates. The Buddha's timeless gift is simple yet profound. 1. Set aside disputes that divide. 2. Focus on universal truths, sila, samadhi, panna. 3. Practice, observe, and verify for yourself. 4. Let silent transformation unfold. 5. Share peace through your own example, not argument. This is a living policy, a guide to transforming minds, hearts, and societies. Anyone willing to practice, regardless of background or belief, can discover freedom. Misery fades. Confusion dissolves. Peace arises. Motivational reflection. Debates may sharpen the mind, but practice awakens the heart. Words may impress, but insight transforms. Pride may claim victory, but only vipassana liberates. The Buddha's policy is universal, timeless, and revolutionary. No debate. Only practice. Only experience. Only peace. Only liberation. Stories to inspire. A quarrelsome monk learns to observe impermanence and stops arguing with peers. A skeptic scholar discovers wisdom beyond intellect through vipassana. People from all sects experience the same truth: practice unites where debate divides. This is the silent, radiant revolution of the Buddha, a revolution that transcends belief, tradition, and argument. Final metaphor, the lamp of insight. Debates are sparks, they flicker, fade, and vanish. Practice is a lamp, it illuminates steadily, quietly, and continuously. Follow this light, and the darkness of attachment, quarrel, and confusion will disappear forever.